the chemistry of Dinuguan.
Escape from Balut.
Escape from Balut. It's not better, in my opinion. So, what was your impression of the Philippines so far? But you've only arrived last night?
Last night, yeah. Well, so far so good, but I haven't seen much of the Philippines in the daylight yet. So I'm looking forward to learning. I understand it's very hot. In the middle of your summer. So,
it's like we're in a volcano.
Yeah. One of the people in Scholastic who works in publicity is Filipino, and she took me to a neighborhood in Los Angeles called Eagle Rock, which is a big Filipino neighborhood. And that's the first time that I ever discovered Jollibee.
It's a Korean town because it came out in CNN, in Anthony Bourdain's show.
Oh, right, yeah.
Jollibee in Koreatown in LA.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's the one I went to. So I'm looking forward to more because I have very limited knowledge, and I trust that all of you will have recommendations for me.
We're gonna make you ride the GP on the way back to the hotel. Paano ba sa mga kipapunta natin? Okay, so were you always a reader or a writer, even as a child?
I always knew that I wanted to be a writer, even when I was a kid. All of the kids in my neighborhood wanted to be baseball stars and basketball stars. I wanted to be a writer.
You didn't do any sports?
I didn't play sports when I was younger. I did as I got older. But when I was a kid, my idea of a good time was to shut the door in my bedroom and put down a piece of, a pad of paper on the desk and start letting my crazy ideas spill out onto the paper, because I had a lot of crazy ideas when I was little. I would sometimes hide little notebooks inside my mathematics book.
Did your teacher or mom ever find them?
They never found out.
Those books must be worth a lot now. Can you sell some on eBay?
No, you're gonna have to negotiate with my mother because she has them. And I would write about science fiction stories. I would write about trips to Mars and trips to the moon, and I would do this during math class when the teacher thought I was doing all my problems, and I was writing stories. I used to love to do it. I would write stories, and sometimes I wouldn't show them to anybody. I would just write for my own pleasure. So I started very, very young, and just enjoyed it. It was the one thing I always wanted to do more than anything else.
How did you go from biochemistry in Harvard to prolific writing?
I have to be honest.
It doesn't mean that chemists are not writers. We're just asking.
There was a time in my life when I was very smart. It's been downhill ever since.
Tell us about it.
When I went to college, I was the oldest in my family, and when you're the oldest in your family, there's a lot of pressure for you to be the big star in your family. Everybody thought I was going to be the big success in my family. And when I was growing up, I never had any kind of encouragement to write or to do anything creative for a living. The idea was when you did something creative, you could never make a living from it. So I believed that. And when I went to college, I loved the sciences. I loved biology. I loved chemistry. I loved all that stuff. But I didn't know what to do with it. I would be a terrible doctor. You would never want me to be your doctor. Because I get very sick at the sight of blood. So, that's not a good thing.
Dr. Peter Lerangis. Aren't you a doctor of some kind?
No, I'm a doctor of stories. But anyway, so I majored in biochemistry because I really liked it, and because all of my friends were pre-med and they were going to be doctors, and I realized pretty early on that I didn't want to do that, and I thought, okay, I need to do something else that's going to make my parents proud. So I thought I would become a lawyer. And I actually...
That was an unexpected answer.
Right? And so I got into law school. And then I thought, I'm in law school now. I can be there. I'm not going to go. I'm going to tell this law school that I'm going to have one year, and I'll come back in a year. During that year, I wanted to try everything that I really, really wanted to do. One of them was performing, acting on stage. The other was writing. During that year, I tried. And immediately I started working as an actor. And then once I started acting in plays, I forgot about law school. And in between shows, when I was acting, I had to develop something else. And the thing that I really wanted to do was write. So I started editing books. I started writing books. And for a long time, I was doing three things. I was being an actor, I was being a writer, I was being an editor. And let me tell you something, you do enough of that for a number of years, and you get very, very tired. So I thought, okay, I should probably do one thing. And the thing that I really liked, and the thing that was really starting to take off for me, was writing children's books. And I loved it, and I never, ever looked back. I decided to do that instead of everything else, and I've been doing it for 25 years.
You should try adult science
I should try adult science fiction. Maybe I'll do that next.
But you haven't.
No, I never have.
But how did you end up working as one of the collaborators of 39 Clues?
Well, actually, that was very mysterious. The 39 Clues, was not my idea. It was Rick
Scholastic's idea.
Right. So Scholastic called me up and they said, hey, we have an idea for you. And I said, no, you've got it backwards. I'm the writer. I'm supposed to have an idea for you. And they said, no, come to a secret meeting. And they let me in the door, and they closed the door, and they locked it. It is very unusual for someone in a publishing company to lock the door. And they said, before we start, we want you to sign a secrecy agreement. I said, a secrecy agreement? And they said, yes. And I turned around, and there was Gordon Corman, and there was Jude Watson. And I said, what are you guys doing here? And they said, I don't know. So I signed the secrecy agreement, and we sat down.
To the lost island of Atlantis in the heart of New York City.
Yes, exactly. And they told us about this idea for the 39 Clues, and they said Rick Riordan had thought about it, but Rick is way too busy to write the stories, so we're going to do something nobody has ever done before. We're going to have a multi-author series. That way the books can come out much faster, because when it's one person, it's usually 9 months or a year. But when it's a lot of people, one person can write the book, the next person can start the next book, and the next person can start thinking about the next book, and this way we can put the books out every 3 months. Everybody's pointing. Why are we pointing? That is the Cahill, Philippines. These are the #1 39 Clues fan in the world.
You're not whispers.
So anyway, from this meeting, we all signed up. We all came on board, and I have to tell you a funny little story. So after this terribly secret meeting where we all came out, we were kind of shaking. We were saying, "What are we getting into?" My son, who was about 18, was working at Scholastic as an intern that summer. This was the summer of 2007, and I was meeting him for lunch. And I said, "Nick, let's go to lunch." And he said, "Dad, what are you doing down here?" I said, "I can't tell you." I said, "I signed a secrecy agreement, as strange as it sounds." And he looked up at me and he said, "Oh, you're working on the 39 Clues?" I said, "How did you know?" He said, "Well, they wanted to test the idea on somebody young to see if it really worked with a young person. So they gave me everything to look at. So he knew about it before I did. And they didn't make him sign a secrecy agreement."
Amazing. So what does your son think of the series now? Does he think yours are the best?
Yeah. My son, he never says that.
Do you think yours are the best? Don't tell Rick.
He thinks that. I know he thinks that, but he doesn't admit it.
Rick Riordan created the story arc and you all followed, or you all brainstormed and created the plots together?
No, Rick created the big over series. Now, when you write a book series and you have different authors involved, every author wants to be the one that reveals the big secret, right? So what Rick did was he gave us an outline of all the books, but he made sure to make it very, very loose, so that when it came to our turn, we could add our own special ingredients to the plot. But he made sure that all the big secrets were held out till the various books, so that you couldn't reveal a certain thing in book 2, you had to wait till book 7, right? So the big mystery was planned out in advance, but all the details in the middle, those were all our responsibilities.